Hi everyone, Paul Elam here with An Ear for Men. You know, it's more than strange to me that for living in a culture obsessed with women, most people, particularly men, know so little about them. That information deficit is rooted in the fact that we are socially mandated to take a sugar and spice fairy tale view of women. Talking about them with any honesty is the last thing that people can do unless they're willing to suffer the ire of the world around them. The result is a culture that lives 1,000 contradictions and inconsistencies about the so-called fairer sex. Most people feign their understanding of women in a way designed to appease women's egos. We tend to express ourselves about them, minding every P and Q, every word to make sure there's nothing that might offend. Understand women? Like this? We might as well be trying to send astronauts to Mars without using rocket fuel or math. The cognitive dissonance in this is similar to that regarding diet and obesity. We've known for some time that diets don't work, and pardon the departure, but if you didn't know that, get it. Diets are a huge scam and an even bigger fail. Losing weight and maintaining it requires a fundamental shift in your relationship to food. You have to become the kind of person who does not eat unhealthy crap because you actually don't want it. People don't want to hear that though, so they keep buying into diet plans. The result? 108 million dieters in the U.S. alone spending $20 billion annually, while 3/4 of Americans are either overweight or obese. Many of them are part of the diabetes epidemic. People don't want to hear that either, so they rush to the next diet fad in droves, or once they've had enough rounds of complete failure, they take refuge in the fat acceptance movement. We do the same thing with understanding women. Most men take a few stabs, perhaps many, of trying to make sense of what they see in women versus the fairy tale narrative they have always been told, then ending up saying things like, "That's just the way women are," or worse, "Just give them what they want. Happy wife, happy life." Oh yeah, and being 100 pounds overweight is sexy. Jacqueline Friedman looks good in that spandex. Yeah, huh? Now that being said, let's talk about talking about women. That is an important gig considering that if we have to sit around and lie to each other, fearful of what women or white knights will think, our chances of tapping into anything useful are limited. This is not with the intent of offending women, but with the knowledge that many will be offended anyway. Indeed, their offense to this information tells you one of the most foundational understandings you must have if you're ever going to understand women. That is, that most women, the vast majority, are children. They are grossly immature, carrying expectations of men that are on par with the expectation a 4-year-old has of Santa Claus. They tend to pathologically avoid accountability for their behavior and expect to be treated like the center of the universe. Most of them are relationship train wrecks waiting to happen. At this point, it is typical for me to issue an obligatory disclaimer that not all women are like that, and it is true. But as one commenter recently pointed out, saying NAWALT every time you make a fair, generalized observation about common traits in women is more of the same problem. It is walking on PC eggshells in order to coddle children whose coddling should have ended when they hit puberty. At the same time, I want An Ear for Men to have a distinct difference from some other men's venues that address women more realistically, but then shoot themselves in the foot with "all women are bitches and hoes" reductionism. As I've said in other talks, and will undoubtedly say again, human beings are a combination of what their biology and their society makes them. In a blindly gynocentric culture saturated with weak, obsequious men, we can scarcely expect to have anything but a glut of entitled, unreasonable, and narcissistic women. After all, 2 + 2 still equals 4, And demonizing women for what the great majority of men have allowed them to be is about as deep and nuanced as the average feminist's understanding of the earnings gap. We can do a lot better than that. As common as these negative qualities are in women, pseudoscience, resentment, and emotional baggage on full display are not the answers. Neither are the sexual desperation and insecurity of pickup artistry, at least not here. I can't fault any man for either writing women off completely or for the emotional hiding place afforded by reducing them to sexual assets. Still, most men, I'd say the vast majority, are going to follow the human instinct to pair bond, a place for information and shared experiences necessary for men who want to connect with women, but who realize that relationships with them will leave tread marks on their back if they don't think out of the box and handle things differently. Specifically, they want non-gynocentric relationships. The An Ear for Men channel is rapidly approaching its first 1,000 subscribers. As is customary on YouTube, I will be posting a thank you video when we reach that mark. In it, I'll include a lot more detail about the future of AEFM and why I will be investing so much more energy here toward this particular conversation. And that brings us to the close of another talk. I hope you've enjoyed. Links to the site, Say Goodbye to Crazy, and the Patreon page are in the low bar. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.